Okay. Let me see, okay. Okay, again, good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending today's VAL meeting. It is October 21st here in the room. Myself, Sharon Von Roach, Program Manager. I have
Jelani Smith, Program Monitor for us.
Elijah Arnett, Program Monitor.
Abimisola Keridulali, Program Monitor.
Okay. Unfortunately, the folks from operations are not here. So I'm just
We're
going.
here.
They're online. Antoinette and Nicole are online.
And Jeremy.
Okay,
Yes. And Jeremy.
great. So we're just gonna start down the agenda list. So I'm gonna turn it over to Nicole Green with operations to talk about the financial report.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Sharon. Today, Jeremy will be presenting. We emailed the vendors at large the financial data prior to this. I'm sorry, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So today, Jeremy will be reporting. Thank you, Jeremy.
This is the Randall Shepherd financial reporting for the period October 1st, 2024 to September 30th, 2025. Assigned vending payments, 1,152,573.33. Unassigned vending payments, 870,102.24. Levy set aside received, 278,694.78. Paid from levy set aside, we had management services of $44,059.07. There was maintenance and equipment of $69,529.46. There was no fair minimum return. The total for purchase order expenditures was $215,354.67. This consisted of maintenance of equipment, $25,137.64, management services of $96,599.43, purchase of equipment, $76,218.82, refurbished facilities, $9,095.28, and replacement of equipment of $8,303.50. And that is the reporting.
Are there any questions?
Yes, this is Eunice Miles. Because we did get the report, but of course we got it maybe a half an hour before the meeting, which really didn't give us a lot of time to preview it and come up with some questions. But did you mention management services twice with two different amounts of money by them?
Yes. We mentioned management services underneath the was paid out of levy set aside and was paid from our local purchase orders.
So what were the management services?
For which particular category are you referring to? Whether it was paid directly from levy set aside or what was purchased via a purchase card? I mean, a purchase order.
Both.
Okay. Nicole, do you have the data to provide that?
Yes.
Okay.
All righty. For in December, we paid out $6,000 in management services to Mr. Stevenson. In addition to that, we paid some travel reimbursements.
Okay. Just wave where you want me.
To Mr. Pasacani and to Mr. Petaway Brooks. And that, yes. And then in January, we paid out $927.80 for travel reimbursement. In February, we did a startup, like initial stop for $4,800. And then in June, we did an initial stop to Mr. Henderson for $7,500. And then in July, we did an initial stock for Mr. Robinson for $7,500. And then in August, we paid out $10,000 to Mr. Walker for initial stock. And then in September, we paid out a total of $5,500, $1.92 in various travel reimbursements.
And may I ask
5,500.
a question? I have a question. You mentioned my name, Petaway Brooks, and what was that for?
That was your travel reimbursement.
Somebody's just calling me. Who's that? So, no. Is anybody miss earlier calling me? I missed it.
Can you please
put
mute your phone? Please mute your phone.
Can you mute my phone, please? Can you mute my phone? Yeah.
Yeah.
Nicole, going back up to the, still not muted.
Able to unmute him though.
You're talking about management services units, on POs and the and unassigned. Okay.
And then for the PO category, we paid various signage for the various micro markets or vending services. We also paid out. For purchase orders, I don't have exactly those details, but I'll send those out once this meeting concludes.
He's on mute already. Yeah, mute yourself, George.
Okay, how do I unmute her?
She could do it. Virtually.
Okay, are there any other questions about the financial report? It's still a work in process to get this out at least a day ahead of time.
And my apology for the delay.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item, which is travel requirements. And I just wanted to reiterate that please work with your program monitors that are assigned to you to let them know at least 3 to 4 weeks in advance of you attending any prospective seminars and conferences. And when you're doing that, I'm sure you have already booked or paid for the plane fare, the registration, and the hotel. And so you would provide those dollar amounts to your program monitor as well. The reasoning for that is because, you know, I know you've been hearing about the system, the purchase request form that we have to complete on every expenditure that we do. And this is to notify operations and for them to account for all of the expenditures. So they take that information and then they log it just to be able to really feed into the financial report that you just heard. When you return from your travels, i.e. conferences and seminars, please forward your receipts for everything directly to your assigned monitors. They'll gather the information and then they can forward it on to Nicole and Jeremy. So that's the process now. Any questions? Oh, go ahead.
Ask, are you all in for the whole expense or just a certain amount? It sounds like you're paying the whole expense of anyone's trip or seminar they go to. Is that so?
Yeah, just submit your receipts and operations will pay.
No, it's not $1,000 anymore. It's the whole expense of the trip.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Nicole talk about that. Nicole Green or Antoinette.
So hi, this is Antoinette. When the financials were shifted to operations, during the training, we were advised that there was $1,000 threshold for travel reimbursements. However, after we've been doing this for some time now, and in our discussions with Andy, there isn't anywhere in our policy that states a threshold. So to that extent, as Sharon indicated, when you complete your travel, just send us the travel reimbursement request or the receipts. And then if there is any reason why we won't pay it, let's say we can't, the receipt is not legible or whatever, we will be in touch with you. But right now you will be reimbursed per the invoice that you provide us or the receipt.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So that's good news. Okay, so I'm gonna go down to the next item, the BLAST conferences. So received a question about presenting information from each state SLA, and the fact that the DC SLA hasn't been attending the BLAST conferences, and that's due to budget circumstances. But in order to report out, the makeup of our program. So, and having discussions with Andy, we're in agreement that if the SLA staff cannot attend, i.e. myself or the program monitors, then we will reach out to those folks that have indicated that they are going, and we will provide like a script of what you can report out based on the SLA Randolph-Sheppard operations. So we are focusing on making sure we have representation at these major BLAST meetings.
Oh, no.
Any questions?
Can you repeat that information, please? I'm not sure I'm following you.
Okay, there were a couple of vendors that attended the most recent BLAST conference, and they stated that at some point in time, the folks hosting it were looking for reports from each of the state offices to basically talk about things like how many vendors have left your program, how many have you licensed in the new year, what type of training was offered, things of that nature. And because the SLA hasn't been able to attend, the question came up, well, if the SLA is not able to attend, could one of the blind vendors represent us? And so that's what we're sharing, that if we are unable to attend, we will reach out to those of you that say you're going and figure out, who should represent and present information that we ultimately will give to you to present at a BLAST conference.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you, Ms. Sharon. I didn't think we needed all that time to, we have a lot of issues to discuss, so let's move on to whatever else you have.
All right. Next one is the USMC bid closure. So just a reminder, anyone interested in bidding on the USMC dining opportunity. Tomorrow is the deadline. Okay. Moving on. I'm sure all of you received the notice about the NFB Town Hall meeting today, and I encourage everyone that can to log into it. It's at 2:30 today, because it's going to basically talk about the state of affairs in Randolph-Sheppard. For example, training, rebates for point of sale, the government shutdown, this multi-state arbitration that's going on with the Department of War. So, some very useful information will be shared. I think it's supposed to go 60 or 90 minutes. Okay. All right, the next item, facility processing. Just try to put out like a generic title for that. But there was a question about how we're processing a notice of opportunities from GSA. And so the bottom line is, it's no different than what has been going on for ages, where, GSA may notify SLA about an opportunity, and then we seek further information such as the space, the purpose, the population that will be served, and things of that nature, to determine whether or not it's a viable opportunity for the Randolph-Sheppard program. And when we're doing that, we are talking with the vendors that are there in the building as well. Okay. Any questions?
So, hi, good morning. This is Nicole. So if a cafeteria opportunity comes up within the blind vendor's location, the state licensing agency will notify the blind vendor before they make any decision concerning the offer?
Well, an answer to that is twofold. Yes, we will try to reach out to the blind vendor at the location, but I just want to put it out there that, by the federal regulation, that yes, these government buildings should have at least one blind vendor in them. And once that has been reached, then they have the opportunity to offer it to other folks as well.
Without notifying the agency.
Right.
Without notifying the agency.
They don't have to move.
May I ask a question on that?
Sure.
Okay, they offered to other people without notifying the agency prior to that?
That doesn't sound right. GSA should offer it to the agency.
Well, I know, and I'm saying this because at Bolden, they tried to get past me, but someone told me about it. So I contacted Karen. They had pretty much closed the bid, and they had to go back and reopen it so that I could bid on it.
So basically, yes, you're correct. They in the past they have notified us, or they I forgot the particular website that they had the solicitations on, but from the understanding that we received is that once the obligation of a Randolph-Sheppard program has been fulfilled, meaning a vendor is there, current, and that particular location or agency met that requirement, SAM.gov. Once they meet that requirement, they don't necessarily have to present us with an opportunity for the cafeteria because they fulfilled the Randolph-Sheppard obligation. Sorry.
Well, hello, Jelani?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is Eunice. So that doesn't make sense Because why would GSA offer you an opportunity to run a cafeteria if they feel like they've met their obligation? Now,
So if they
my
do offer, if they do, I'm
Let me
sorry, please. Yeah, I'm
I'm
sorry.
not finished. So it is my understanding that GSA concessions always approaches the SLA to find out if they are interested. Once a cafeteria is available or the current contract has expired, they contact the SLA to let them know that the contract is going to be up for rebid. And so then they give us or the SLA an opportunity to say, do you want this or do you not want it? Now, that happened to me at FAA, and the only way that I found out that we were offered the cafeteria was that GSA Concessions told me. They said, well, you know, we always offer opportunities in your buildings to the SLA first. If they don't come to you and tell you or ask you if you're interested, then, of course, it's not their responsibility. So, you know, my understanding is that they do offer it, whether there's a vendor in the building or not.
And I concur with Eunice because that happened to me at the post office headquarters. I found out from management when I was going through another process that they came to the SLA and offered them the little cafeteria there. And at the time, Tiffany was the manager, and she turned it down without consulting the rest of the vendors, the committee about it.
Yeah, so you are correct. They do offer, they do. But there are times where we're saying that, again, because they feel their obligation, that they circumvent the SLA and offer those locations to other contractors or third parties without the SLA knowing. And same thing with Miss Jessie just spoke on how you had to let Miss Karen know about the situation over at DIA. Sometimes that happens. So I mean, it's maybe the communication is strengthening with GSA, but GSA will circumvent because of the obligations that they said they met.
Right. All we're saying, Jelani, is the times that they do offer it to the SLA, then they should, you know, come to the vendor and see if the vendor is interested. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And those are the things, you know, when we talk about micro markets or, you know, we haven't had any cafeteria opportunities in a while, but, you know, once we have those micro market discussions and things like that, we do notify the current vendor or the vendor.
No, that's not true.
Thank you.
They don't. It didn't happen. And that's what I'm
Ms.
saying.
Von Roach, would you be able to reach out to a GSA for like another vendors at large meeting? Will we be able to sit down with a member of GSA and have a discussion?
I will reach out.
I have a comment, Ms. Von Roach. Yeah. You're done.
Go ahead, Mr. Hamid.
Yeah, I think with respect to GSA properties, they are, it's more clearly established that they're supposed to notify the SLA in a prompt manner before they even offer the opportunity to anybody else or to start engaging third parties in any kind of alternative scenario. With respect to DIA, it's a different situation. I mean, they basically like the military, tend to play games if they can get away with it. They had entered into conversations with the Naval Exchange folks. They were going to give them, those are the people who run commissaries, so they were going to give them the entirety of the food contract at DIA as well as the vending. And they had, I was responsible for monitoring that issue and engaged with them as well as the Naval Exchange folks. And I realized basically that they had already given notices to Canteen to pull out lock, stock, and barrel. They were serving on our behalf there. So I think we need to monitor the other agencies, but GSA, I think they should be amenable to a direct conversation from the SLA, a reminder that they need to notify us promptly about opportunities as and when they arise. I think that's not, I don't think they need to have a meeting with the vendors at large necessarily, although if the vendors at large wish it, that's a different issue.
I think they should. I think it would be good to hear it directly from them and to have a discussion with them.
Right now,
I'm gonna look for some written documentation on this and forward that. Like I said, I'll reach out to GSA. But I wanna say this, their commitment is to interfacing with the SLA and not necessarily the blind vendor. So I'll look for some type of documentation, forward to you what I find that basically supports what we initially started the conversation with, is that by federal regulation, there should be representation in each federal building. And once that's met, quote unquote, GSA can either decide that they want to contact the SLA or they can go off and do their own thing. But
okay, thank you. The documentation will be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and Nicole, I just wanted to say, basically, right now, we're like sitting on the Titanic right now. We're not sure the whole thing is going to go down. Department of Education is out of staff that supervises programs. GSA folks are looking around the corner to see if they got a job. Everybody's kiddish right now. While we need to still confront some of the challenges we have to keep our operations going and to keep everybody, sort of forward looking, we do also run the risk of making a bad situation worse by exacerbating, the situation with demands that, people step up to their deficiencies. So I just wanted to say that, Nicole, just by way of background, my own perspective.
Thank you for your opinion, Mom.
Okay, thank you all. Appreciate the discussion. The next item, someone sent in something about submitting information that really wasn't accessible. I can let Nicole Green talk about a picture that she sent.
Yes. Hi, Ms. Sharon. Thank you for that. Yes, I inadvertently submitted a picture that's reminding the vendors that their P&Ls were due. And I apologize for that. So moving forward, everything will be in writing. So thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Okay.
And I apologize for the mishap.
Thank you, Nicole. The next
Thank you.
item is shutdown assistance, and received a question about what are the agency's plans to assist the blind vendors during a shutdown. And the bottom line is, I just want to throw this out there that, with the shutdown, there's really no funding that's moving. And, this program is funded by the federal government. So currently there aren't any plans in place to assist. Okay, next item. Program monitor business operations assistant. So there was a question that came in that basically said, what are the responsibilities of the program monitor to provide business operation assistance? And it's the same. It hasn't changed, where they will initially assist those that are transitioning between the program, between different facilities with the inventory in and out process. And then once people are on board, they come out and they do an assessment of the facilities on a monthly basis, talking to you, discussing how to improve the bottom line, whether that is, they're making suggestions and recommendations. So that's one way that they're providing, assisting with business opportunities. They're providing marketing strategies, and again, the same stuff that they've been doing, they will continue to do. So I was a little surprised by the question. The person that asked the question, do you want to elaborate?
I just wanted to get a clear understanding because so much stuff has changed in the program. A lot of things have changed of how they're operating. So I wanted to make sure that their duties were still the same. That's all. And then the other thing was, if I ask my program monitor a question and they can't answer the question, you know, and they relay it in the email, can't and won't answer the question, who do I go to get the answer or the information that I need?
Okay, well, if that is happening, then you can call me or send me an email, and then I will follow up with the monitor.
Okay, thank you.
This is Marie Bolden. I think when we first started out, the monitors more or less expressed their title, but I would like to know exactly what Mr. Smith's position is now. I thought it was taken over Karen, but I'm just trying to get a feel of what is Mr. Smith's position and
Okay.
what is his job description?
Okay, as discussed in, I don't know, a couple of meetings ago, he did take on a new job as the lead program monitor. And just to make this simple, the duties that Karen had, he now has. However, until I can backfill his old position, he's running between the both of them. So we just discussed what the roles and responsibilities are for a regular program monitor. And then I just shared with you what Karen did is what Jelani is doing, with some changes. And the changes are focusing on centralizing information so it's easily retrievable to analyze and distribute. So creating more efficient systems, but again, nothing different. Okay.
So, you said to gather information and centralize it so that it's accessible. So what does that mean? I don't quite understand that.
Okay. I'll say on this side within SLA, there's mounds and mounds of paper. Nobody, works through paper anymore. And it's been difficult at times, like if somebody asks us a question, we have to open up a file cabinet and go through all of these paper files. And so one part of bringing us up into the 21st century is to take pertinent information from these files and put them in an electronic format where everybody, i.e. everybody in SLA, can retrieve the information.
Okay, so he's creating a database for all of this information so that you and your staff can easily get to it, not us.
Yes, that is correct. Thank you for that. Okay. All right, so we'll move on to the next topic. And again, I'm going to need clarification on this one. It was talking about the provide a brief discussion on the updated micro market operating agreements. The person that sent this in, would you elaborate, please?
Oh, so the question I just had about the updated permits was where it says vendor's responsibility, vendors paying quarterly and annual taxes and sales and use tax. So I was under the impression if you had a market that you pay on the gross sales that you're receiving as commission quarterly and annually. And I thought that Monumental was responsible for the sales and use tax of the products that they purchase that they are reselling.
Yeah. This is Abimisola. I believe you asked that question a few months ago, and the same answer you got will be yes. Monumental is responsible for the sales and use tax, not you.
Okay, no, I didn't ask that question a few months ago. Thank you. I wanted to make sure that that was clarified.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your question. I appreciate it. Okay, moving on to third-party contracts. So the question was, what's the status on that? As you know, we deal with a number of third-party vendors, and the notice had gone out about a month ago, you know, to get them on board with them providing the commissions directly to the assigned vendors. And based on my conversation with contracts, there are still a number of folks that have not signed on to this. So it's not fully vetted yet or executed. Maybe that's the word I should use.
Ms. Sharon, may I add on to this? This is Nicole Green.
Oh, thank you.
Alrighty, as you guys are aware that we're going to move forward with the third-party vendors paying you directly, and this will be a December's payout for November's commission. In order to do so, we're going to need a W-9, a signed W-9 and an ACH agreement by November the 14th. I know back in November of 2024, a lot of you guys completed a new ACH agreement, so we can use that, but we will need a W-9, a signed W-9 from you all in order to move forward. This process will make you getting paid your commission monthly more seamlessly and efficiently.
So, Nicole, this is Eunice. So then everything has changed because initially we were saying that they were going to take over beginning October 1, and then we'd get whatever check in November. So now you just moved it back so that it's November, December. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So are you going to provide us with whatever? Is there a form that you need us to fill out in order to give you this information?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Once this conference call concludes, we'll send you that both the W-9 and the ACH if you have any updates to complete.
So then the contract itself has not been fully executed. We've not signed it, right? When I say we, I mean whoever on your end.
So this is Antoinette. Let me see if I could help clarify what's really happening. So of the third-party payer vendors that we currently use, there are a subset, or there were a subset that had not fully signed the agreement as of 2 weeks ago. Jeremy has been making phone calls to those those vendors to, one, make sure that they are still in alignment with what Andy is recommending that we move towards, which is having them pay you all directly. And they were in agreement. We recognize that there were some individuals that were participating on our conference calls in regards to this. I think 1 or 2 of them are no longer in those positions. And so we left that left a hole or a gap where we weren't receiving responses. And so now that we understand what the issue was, we have been in contact with the right people, and they do intend to sign the agreement. so that we can go ahead and make this an effective date. Instead of October, it will be November's payment for December, November's commission, which will be issued in December. And Jeremy, do you recall, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, how many vendors are still outstanding from the pool that was participating or that is participating?
Really approximately 9.
You said 9?
Yeah, I believe top of my head approximately 9.
So it's about 5?
I'll have to double check.
Okay, so I don't believe it's more than 5 vendors, and we are working with the Office of Contracting and Procurement to make sure that everyone has their signed agreements in place before we can actually effectuate this process. If we find that there's going to be additional barriers and we need to push the date back, we will let you know well in advance, but I don't suspect that that's going to occur.
So, Antoinette, hi. So the vendors are Sundown, Monumental, Canteen, and is Accent Food one of them? Do you recall?
Yes. So Nicole, I don't know if we have the list in the conference room, but any vendor that's currently issuing proceeds to you all were invited to participate. And at the time that we've had 2 conversations, conference calls, or either face-to-face meetings, everyone was in agreement to participate. And again, I think the barrier was a couple of those vendors, the individuals that participated, they either moved to different positions or they were no longer there. So we were sending communications to them, and they weren't landing anywhere. So we had to make calls to try to understand what was happening.
Oh, okay.
And to answer the question, Antoinette, it was Compass, It's in Reach, Monumental, and Sky Vending, and Sundown Airmark.
Isn't Canteen and Monumental under Compass Group? I'm just asking.
No, they're independent of each other.
No.
They're not.
Clarify.
Hello, this is Jessie. I have a question. NextCon is not a part of that?
All right.
We're currently not receiving commission from NextCom.
Okay, because that's who has bowling.
Yes, and we're still trying to flush that out with them, unfortunately.
And I do have something to report on that situation before the meeting is over.
Oh, excellent. Thank you for that. I look forward to hearing it.
Is Accent Food still giving a rate of 12.6%? I noticed on my commission report a couple of days ago, it had 11.8%.
Accent Foods was taken over by InReach, so I don't know why you're still getting. Maybe there's a subset of Accent equipment that is still operating separately from the merger with InReach.
So what's the percentage that InReach has given us? I didn't know that InReach took over Accent Foods.
Yeah, they sold it a couple of years ago now. A year and a half ago. The Sodexo people, InReach is their vending brand. The Sodexo, the same people we have as a teaming partner for the Marine Corps contract, respectively. Those are the people who also run the InReach plus Sodexo. Plus Accent. They're the ones who are servicing the former Accent machines in our program anyway. That was supposed to happen like a year and a half ago, so I'm not sure what's going especially if you're still receiving statements with accent foods on it.
So, can y'all answer the question? Are they giving us 12.6%? I'm talking to financials.
Hey, guys, It's in Reach has various commission rates that they indicate. Depending on the vending services, whether it's beverages, snacks, they go from 21% to 12.6%, then 13%. So it varies, and we're calculating the percent rate based upon what they're capturing. So if you're intended to have 21% based upon what they're tracking, that's how much we're giving you. So we're not updating, we're not changing, we're just giving you exactly what they're reporting.
So can y'all put that then under the percentage? Because the percentage is still saying 13%. So in my mind, I'm still thinking I'm supposed to receive the same thing.
When we're sending out or updating your P&Ls, whatever percentage is on the record from It's in Reach is what's generated or populated to your commission report.
Wow, they were supposed to update the rates to 21% for snacks and 26% for beverages. That's where I left off when I ended my term on the BBC last. So I'm not sure.
No, I haven't been getting that. The other day I got 11.8%.
That is absurd. This is why the blind vendors were dealing directly with the vending companies, because the SLA has no idea what the hell's going on at any given point in time with respect to vending issues. Because these
And
people have been so long. I mean, that's why we got Canteen to give us $50,000 in underpayments when we signed the contract with them as a condition, because they had been playing fast and loose, and we had written records going back with the discrepancies in the vending commission. And when I left, Daryl Evans knew, and we had correspondence with Accent Foods and telling them basically our baseline agreements with Canteen and Sundance were the framework with which that was the template that other service providers were to comply with. This is pretty bizarre that I'm hearing about 11%, 12%.
So if this is Antoinette, what Nicole will be doing is requesting a meeting with Sharon so that she could obtain all of the vendor agreements that were signed when Daryl Evans was here, so that we can understand what changed, because based upon the commission reports that you have been receiving, as Nicole indicated, she's been paying you based upon what they issue to us. Now, if there's an error, then we will make sure that we have those discussions with those vendors, and then we can right size it. But right now, she's only paying you based upon what they're giving us and what the backup is recorded as. And again, if that percentage should be more, then we need to see what those agreements state and what those effective dates are, and then right size that for you.
Okay, well, this is Mazhar Hamid again. I sent a complete set of our agreements to Jasmine Jackson before she stepped away. So I'm not sure what you all are doing in your operations team, but basically that should be somewhere in your system over there. Because when they wanted that clarification specifically to bring the data up to date. And so I'm not, it's like, it's depressing to know that, basically it's just somehow it's fallen through the cracks. I mean, that's very significant. I mean, we had to negotiate with folks we've been doing business with for, 30 years or more. And we had them acknowledge that some of the issues that came up when one company bought another company, and we had agreement and understandings that the the rates that we were being paid were going to be upheld by the acquiring company. And that's where, I mean, like Canteen took over custom vending, and they gave us, the SLA gave us written commitments, basically that the Canteen would honor the SLA agreements with custom vending, which were much better rates on snacks and beverages than at some locations with Canteen. Well, it actually went backwards. After a couple of years, Canteen, reduced the rates at a number of locations, especially on the sign locations. And so we got reparations essentially when we negotiated with Canteen. We showed them the evidence. We said, you need to fix this, and we are not going to sign future agreements with you until you make us whole. And they said, no problem. We estimate we owe you about $50,000. And we said, okay, deal. So that was hard negotiations. And it sounds like basically if we're back to people being paid 11% and 12%, that's heartbreaking.
Well,
May I
thank
say something, please? This is Jessie. And I heard Ms. Van Roach one time you stated that the SLA would be taking over the situation with the vending commission, making a decision on what percentage we receive. What Mr. Marsden just spoke on is a perfect example of why vendors should be included, because people's hands change at the SLA, and the other person may not leave the information behind for the people who are taking over to follow. So then you may get lost. Whereas if the vendor have that information, like Mr. Marsden just was able to speak on, we can keep going forward. But if nobody has that information but the people at SLA and people leave, then we are lost.
Yeah. I was saying, well, thank you for this fruitful conversation. And as stated before, yes, there has been a change of hands. So between operations, documents, files, and here within the Randolph-Sheppard program, and us going through our files, we just need to get everything together and do an analysis, and then we'll get back with you all.
We appreciate it.
All right, we just have two more items. One, I got a question about basically referencing the policy that states that a new vendor has to be in the program 12 months before they're eligible to receive pension payments. So again, combing through all of this paperwork, I could not find any policy that stated that specifically. I do understand that this has been practiced and that we will support the practice going forward, but there is no written approved policy to this. And if you have something that says approved policy, please send it to me, but I don't have it. And trust, I've gone through a lot of paperwork.
Ms. Van Roach, this is Marie Bolden. I have noticed, this is really a concern of mine, that the agency always hides behind it is not written. I would think that the agency can make a fair decision on any issue that comes up. Now, as far as this issue is concerned, all of us here had to go 12 months before we were able to get a satellite or get the pension. Now, just because you find that it's not written does not mean that the agency, you as the program manager, can make a fair decision decision for all vendors. Now, every one of us here had to go 12 months before we received the whatever. So I just don't understand why the agency hides behind it is not written. You are there to more or less make sure the program is ran fairly and equally. Now, if the new vendor comes in this program and they insist, or the agency let them, you can't blame the vendor. You have to blame the agency, because the agency itself makes the decision. That is not fair. If I came into the program and had to work 12 months before I received a pension or got a satellite, every vendor here, I think, had to do that. So why can't the new vendor coming in today do the same thing? Why should they get what money or whatever that we all have earned? They have to earn just like we have. I just don't understand the agency hiding behind it is not written all the time. I mean, really, that's annoying. All we asking for is a fair and equal agency from all us vendors. That's all we asking. Now, a new vendor comes in here, the last money we got, and they supposed to receive it too? Come on, we have worked hard in this program, a lot of us. So we only asking the agency to make a fair and equal decision on any issue that comes through there.
Okay, well, thank you for your point of view. And in regards to a fair decision, what we are standing by is, and this is going to be an actual segue into Raven doing the policy stuff, but what we're saying is that there were a whole lot of drafts that have been written, but nothing was ever finalized or approved. And we acknowledge that. The fact that this has come up and it's been in practice forever, we are going to honor that. That's what this is. So that's, to use your terminology, we're representing fairness there. Now, let me transition over to Raven Everett, who is our intern, who has been working diligently on updating the policies. And some of these things that are coming up, she's incorporating in for her discussions with Mr. Henderson to move this stuff forward so we can get out of all of the draft modes that we're in and basically have approved documents going forward. So I hear what you're saying, and this is a very glaring one where, this practice has been in effect 20, 30 years, maybe even longer than that. So we're going to honor it.
Ms. Van Rose, may I say something, or I can meet with you later and talk about it if you like? Something that I learned that I think the vendors should know about when I was in the last conference.
Is this what? Yeah, wait, before we do that though, I want to give Raven an opportunity if she has anything she wants to say on the policy end. If not, we're good. We'll move on.
I have a comment.
Wait, we're letting Raven speak. Go ahead, Raven.
I'm working on setting up a meeting. We are trying to shift how the policies are and add more procedures. So that way it is able to be referenced a lot easier and have like actionable things that you have a process. This is the process. You can't vary from it.
I can't understand a word she's saying, Ms. Von Roach.
She was saying that she's trying to set up a time with Mr. Henderson and also trying to include more procedures in the policies. That way they're easier to understand and follow.
Now, what?
Okay, will you be?
Are written, Ms. Von Roach, what then what happens, since we don't know what's going on in Department of Education, and it usually has to go to them? So what's the next step once they've written these policies?
Can I offer my comment here? It might have an idea there.
Okay, regulations, changes to regulations have to go to the Department of Ed. If it's internal policy, they don't have to go to the Department of Ed for approval. So let us take one step at a time. She being Raven has put a lot of energy and time, and you know how many draft policies that are out there. So I would just give her the time to work with Mr. Henderson, who is the policy person, to analyze this.
Can I just say something really quick? So it's nice to meet you, Raven. This is the first time I'm hearing you guys have someone doing the policies. I think that before you update any policies, you need to inform all of us, all of the entire vendors at large, and get all of our input on the policies, not just be working with the policy chairperson by themselves and not informing the rest of the vendors at large community.
Well, the policy person has contacted Ms. Von Roach several times, if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Von Roach, asking to meet with you on policies. And it's always, I'll get back with you or something like that. He has not had a chance, really, to work with the SLA on policy because the SLA has not cooperated with him.
Okay, well, thank you for bringing that up. That is why Raven is here. She's taking that role in the policy update.
I had originally a meeting set up in September. It did get canceled through the vendor, and we are trying to set up one for early November. And any discussion with policy that is implemented or even drafted is going through the BBC, so that way they're able to actively participate as well.
But keep in mind,
thank you.
Keep in mind the BBC, we're going to have a new BBC in a couple of months. So, that's, this is part of the problem why you have documents entitled policy draft, because the idea was essentially we will have policies as a more fluid instrument to assist the blind vendor community, both the BBC and the SLA participating with the vendor at large community, trying to come up with answers to problems that they are facing, and not something that requires Department of Education approval because it is under the rubric of the rules and regulations that we already have approved from the department. So the idea is essentially to find policy solutions and procedures that make sense for us, and to do it in a collegial way, not to hide behind policy draft documents going all the way back to when policy was initiated and drafted and got approved by the BBC, by the SLA, by the vendor at large community, and then it's trashed because the SLA finds it inconvenient or whatever. I mean, this has been tragic. I mean, the way we have run roughshod over the idea of having some flexible instrument for consultation between the vendors and the SLA to figure out solutions, to troubleshoot problems. So we're constantly in this adversarial kind of posture of, the policy says this and the SLA. Well, this is a living document, a living understanding that should be available for change, but it should be transparent. So everybody in the community is aware of a policy draft document and of the BBC input and of the SLA approval or denial of the idea. And if we move, small baby steps, it'll be a lot easier than trying to solve the whole, the planner's policy problem.
This is Brenda Beatty. May I say this? We have a policy chairperson, which now I guess is Mr. Henderson, and I'm trying to get this in my head. Why isn't he working directly with Raven now? We've never worked like this before. When we've had a person doing the policy, then they give it to the BBC, or then work with the. That's why we have chair people. That's why we have a policy chair. That's why we have a P&T chair. That's why we have, grievance chair. If we're not utilizing them, what's the point in having these? It's just on paper. I think that Mr. Henderson should be working directly with Raven now. And then as you all form the policies or whatever you're writing, then you take it to the BBC, then it goes to the vendors at large for comments. That's the way it normally works. Now it seems like everything, it goes to the agency and then comes back to the chair people. That's not how things work here. We kind of switch things around. I think it would be more cohesive if the agency will work with the BBC and the chair people, side by side, and then bring in the vendors would feel more comfortable with that. I think that's my opinion.
Thank you for that, because that is what the intent is. Raven's internship solely focuses on the policies. Everybody knows that these draft policies have been around, forever. So that's her focus. And she has been reaching out to Mr. Henderson on this. And the plan is for the two of them to work together on the policy development, and we will go from there. Somebody had one other item that they wanted to talk about, and then we're going to wrap up the meeting. One of the vendors?
Yes, Jesse Petaway.
Yes.
Brooks here. Yes, I was at a conference, the Blast in Atlantic City here a few weeks ago, and I believe Lauren from Brown Gold Senior Levy got up and spoke, and this is regarding the military. I recall back some years ago where some vendors in North Carolina, South Carolina had brought some kind of arbitration or suit against the military for the commissions on the military bases. And evidently it went to court and they said that the vendors had no merit. So I believe it went to education, and something that education put in there allowed them to go back. But the vendors cannot do it. They said the state has to do it, every state. So now I understand that different states are getting together to proceed with the arbitration. And I was told, because I asked the question, I said, if the agency does not do this, can the vendors input? Because they want $10,000 from each state to go toward legal fees. They told me no, it has to be the state. And if they win the arbitration, any state that's not included into the arbitration, they will not receive the commissions. I recall when I first came to bowling, I was getting something like $5,000 or $6,000 every quarter. In 22, I got I believe it was $16 or something like that. I recall seeing an email where someone sent to Caleb stating, take the vending machines out right away. This was in I've just found it recently, and it was sent back in 22. I have not received vendor commission since then, and I think that's what's going on. I talked with vendors in Maryland and South Carolina, and I found that 4 different vendors on military bases, they're not receiving their vendor commission. So I think they may be trying to hold out to see if they win this arbitration prior to giving up that vendor commission. So, but I was told and the agency can contact Brown Gold Senior Levy. They said, if you are not a part of the arbitration, your state will be eliminated from the proceeds. meaning that we're getting ready to get the military base, getting ready to get the Navy base, any vendor commission coming through there. If you're not included in this arbitration, you won't be able to get it. And like we have first priority, they trying to say that we don't have first priority. So like I
Okay, well,
say, you can speak with the Brown Goldstein and Levy, and they can inform you, you know, even farther.
okay, Miss.
Brenda Beatty, today we have a meeting, and Brown Goldstein and Levy, Neil will be on the phone from Brown Goldstein and Levy at the 2:30 meeting. So maybe we could, this is one of the questions we can bring up.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I was going to say the same thing. I know this is going to be talked about then, but okay. Well, I know we're over time. I appreciate everybody attending, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You as well. Bye.